say, the criterias? What kind of criteria do you look for when you're researching and before you even interview them on Skype? Is there anything that you do to
Yep.
filter through?
Well, it depends on what the job is, you know. If obviously if you're outsourcing an article writing job and when they apply, the English is so crap already, you know, that makes your job very easy to get rid of. I mean, if you're doing designs or websites, I would look at their portfolio, and it might not be the taste that I like in websites,
Yep.
you know. And
What about, say, for example, article writers and virtual assistants, those kind of people?
Yep. So most of them, I would always look at the star rating, like, you know, the star, like the rating is very important to me in
Mm.
Odesk. That's why, you know, a lot of these people, they rather that you don't pay them and give them a good rate if you don't like them than to even pay them and then, you know, rank them 1 out of 5 because it really ruins their profile.
Yes. It's
So,
so strong, like feedback. If you get bad
yes,
feedback on eBay or Odesk or anything, it
yep,
really brings your whole profile down.
exactly.
So,
So, yeah, so I mean, I look at the star rating as well as how many hours they've worked on Odesk. And then once again, it's really about interviewing them and getting to know them through Skype,
mm,
and then getting a sample task. I mean, I've chosen certain people, but when I saw the sample, I realized that it's not right, or they delivered a bit later than they should.
yes.
Yeah.
So would you choose anyone who hasn't had any feedback but has presents to them with a really good resume or good description on there and saying that I can do this, I can do that, and you go look and go, and the price is pretty good too. You know, they're willing
Yep.
to offer at a reasonable price. Would you still consider them, or
Yep,
would you
yep,
you
yep.
would?
Sure, I do. I mean, so it all depends on the pool of candidates. If I have so many great ones, I really don't need to look for, you know, accept these people. But
Mm,
if it's a job that not many people applied for, then I guess you're more lenient about your criteria. You would look at the next stage, which is people who haven't got the experience but don't have any bad feedback because they never really worked. So then I do interview them still and try them out.
yeah, that's great.
Yep,
What
yep,
about pricing then? I know a lot of people are probably wondering, okay, if I'm to go out and look for, say, a programmer or an article
yep.
writer or stuff like that, what kind of price ranges would you be looking at?
Okay. So my tip for you is you pay them what you feel like is right because you're never going to feel ripped off.
Mm,
So what I mean is, you know, you're not going to know what the market rate you can get on the Odes or whatever. But a way for you to investigate that is you can also choose, check out their reporting, check out all their, Odes has all these reports about all the average hourly rate for certain jobs,
yeah.
average hourly rate per country. So you already know what you expected to pay for certain jobs or certain countries. That's one tip that I could give you. But secondly, by outsourcing the price that you are willing to pay, when you get that price, you're never going to feel ripped off. But what happened is once you've outsourced, once you've posted a job out for $1,000, for example, for a website, and you got like 20 candidates, and you post out another job exactly the same for $500, and you still get 20 great people, then you know that there is $500 is good enough to get a good person for this job.
Yes, that's right. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it really depends on the pool of candidates and also how much you're willing prepared to spend
yep,
on that as
yep,
well. So yeah, it comes back down to your own choice and preference. But I
yep,
guess there are sometimes guidelines that people do look for as well in that
yep,
respects. Are you hiring mostly on project basis, hiring them on your books as full-time, part-time? What do you do?
yep. So, I mean, for years I started just doing project based because it protects me from having to, you know, um, commit to any cost.
Mm,
But as I started getting busy and I had regular clients coming in, I started hiring the great people into the team.
yes.
So now I've got about 6 or 7 full timers.
Yeah.
Some of them are part time, but then overall they sort of work every single day for me. Yes, and you know all of them together probably equals to 1 Australian person here. So that's how I could stay profitable in business.
Mm, definitely. Well, I mean, now you're obviously dealing with a team. You're not just dealing with one person or two people, because I know it's quite easy to be able to just manage one or two. You can easily
Yep,
email them and talk to them. So
yep,
therefore, a system would be required. And this is where I
yes,
think before we started this conversation, we are talking about systems.
yep,
So I'm curious as well, what kind of systems do you use to manage your staff?
yep. Okay, so I use the suite, you know, the Basecamp high rise suite, so the
Yes.
whole system. So I use high rise to manage all my contacts from clients to staff. So all my staff have a profile in there, and they have all their portfolios. So anytime anyone opens it, knows who they are and what they do, as well as the contacts, the clients. I put every prospect in there and every client in there so that we could manage, the people. And then we use Basecamp for project management. We use Skype for conference call and just chatting during the day. And with this in the suite, it's also got a tool called Backpack.
Yeah.
And I use that in a sense that I make them update their journal, so I know at the end of the day what they've been working on. And yeah, so they get to create some pages and share calendars and stuff on there.
So it's pretty much everything's integral inside Basecamp's system. And I've heard of Highrise, I've heard of Backpack, and I've also heard of Basecamp. And I personally use Basecamp as well, but I haven't used the other ones. And so my good friend Dale Beaumont uses all of them as well, and he recommends it. But I guess the systems that we've got set up is slightly a little bit different, but it works essentially the same. And from what I can gather is, when you're working with them, you've got a main system, which is the project management system, where you can talk to them, to be able to manage them and to communicate with them. But in terms of, say, for example, you get a project in and a client says, hey, Lynn, I want you to be able to manage this project. Can you please get it delivered by, say, in a month's time? Do you just put that project into the system and then allocate one person to it, or does your whole team get it?
Yeah, they all work together as a team. So my project manager allocates, like, the first person could be a designer doing a mock-up. Then once the design is done, she would pass it to the developer, and the project manager would oversee everything, and I get the last say before it gets to the client.
Okay, great. So you do have a project manager who does work with all these people to get it done.
Yes.
So what role do you play then?
The role I play is getting out there, networking, bringing clients in, bringing prospects in, and my project manager, who's also a business analyst, actually creates the proposal for me.
Excellent.
I just put the price in.
Yep. Well, that's the way it's supposed to be.
How much I want to make from it, and so I don't want to get too bogged down into the project. I just want to focus on business development and strategizing the business. Yeah.
Of course. And did you find this project manager, is she or he overseas, or is she local?
Yeah, he's overseas. He's from America though.
Okay. So you do hire people as well, not just from, say, the Philippines or, say, those countries there, but you do look also too with high strategic people from...
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think that depending on what you need in your business, that's where you need to go, So we provide high quality business plans, but I get that done in London and America, in Boston. I don't do that in the Philippines because they cannot understand the sort of work.
Yeah.
And if it was a really complicated website or software development, it could go to Ukraine or Russia.
Yeah.
It's just
where the skill sets lay, and
the skill sets are.
But then, if, say, for example, you're outsourcing to, say, USA or to London stuff, does that mean that the costs actually increase comparison?
Oh, yeah, well, because then our business plans would be, none of our projects, the only projects we can do it a bit lower than normal things, websites and stuff. But when it comes to special projects like business plans and stuff, you get what you pay for, and we provide the best business plan out there, and the clients get to talk to these business plan writers and project, the people who's running this plan. So we need someone who can speak really good English, good finance background and everything. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Because what obviously I think a lot of people do question is going, okay, so why should we outsource over to, say, these States when you could probably get someone that's local, might be about the same costs?
Yeah. Well, I don't just limit outsourcing to offshore. I have a database of all these entrepreneurs that I have gathered over the year.
Yep.
So when I get a project or a client needing something, I would always send to my list first.
I'm curious as well, with some of the stuff that you're doing, you obviously have a good system in place, and you've mentioned to me that you love strategizing, you love putting systems in place for your clients as well. Are there any specific tools that you use day to day besides the ones you've mentioned that you could recommend?
Yeah. Okay. I love Camtasia. Everything I do, I film it, if I had to explain a process, I would only explain it once and film it, and then create these tutorials so all my staff can read it and watch it. Yeah, I mean, that's just mainly been a really good tool, and then the rest of the tools that I've mentioned before serves its own purpose in the business, and yeah, I
Yeah.
think
I
yeah,
think I totally agree. I mean, I don't use Camtasia anymore because I'm not on I'm not on a PC. I'm on a Mac. But
yep,
I know Camtasia does come on the Mac. But we've been using something like ScreenFlow and also Jing
okay,
Project, which captures all these things as well. And it
yep.
works out perfectly because as long as it's good screen capture software, you're pretty much set.
Yeah, and actually, there's this another tool that I use when I'm on the road. It's called Sail and Mail It. It's just an app on iPhone where, because I'm driving, I can't really reply by email. I just press record and go, yes, blah blah blah, and then press send, and it just sends, and then I can just put an email address and it sends to that person. So it's an audio email tool that I use to send to all my workers.